So I'd like to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, Dr. Helen Parker, who is Regional Administrator of the Employment and Training Administration, U.S. Department of Labor, the Atlanta office. Helen Parker, Dr. Parker, has served as a Regional Administrator of the Atlanta region of the Employment and Training Administration since March 2003. She oversees almost $4 billion in federal resources to state, local grantees. That should get your attention. She provides leadership and direction to the workforce systems in the states of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. I believe she has the Southeast well covered. Dr. Parker received her bachelor's and master's of arts from University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She received her PhD from Duke and has a master's of public administration from the University of Georgia. So she is well connected in the region. Her honors include Secretary of Labor's Special Achievement Award 1990, the National Performance Review Hammer Award, and I'll let her explain what that means, in 1996, and the Interstate Conference on Employment Security Agencies President's Award in 1999. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Parker.
So what I want to do today is spend some time, again, as with Peter, very informally, to borrow a line from Jerry Maguire, showing you where the money is. The Employment and Training Administration is one of the smaller agencies within the Department of Labor, but we manage between $10 and $11 billion in grants every year. And most of our grants are multiple year grants. So understanding how our money gets out into the field, and almost all of our money does go out. We are a grant-making agency. That is almost all we do. So understanding how our money flows is important for you. And clearly what I have heard this morning really does point to workforce development in geospatial technology and in all of the fields that employ geospatial technology really is a wicked problem. Figuring out how to create the curriculum, how to create the pipeline, how to have the budget to do what needs to be done, all of those are issues that you face every day, and they are issues that I would hope our emphasis on career pathways and on building strong curriculum to create those pathways is something that can help. Now, Secretary Hilda Solis set forth, when she first became Secretary of Labor, a very simple but I think very eloquent vision for the department. And that is simply good jobs for everyone. And in the Employment and Training Administration, we translate good jobs for everyone into jobs that are in high demand, that not only are here today, but will be here tomorrow. Jobs that offer high wages or a path to high wages. And jobs that enable you over the course of a lifetime to gain skills, to gain competencies, to transfer those skills and competencies, and literally to create a career pathway or a career lattice that sustains you for life. That's the business we're about, and that's what we've built. As I looked at the program and as I listened to the conversation even just this morning, what strikes me is that geospatial technology is both an industry itself and a tool and major component for a wide number of other industries. That can be both a problem and a blessing, because it gives you a potential breadth and depth that many other tools and industries may not have. You have the opportunity not to be siloed and to reach out and to partner and to collaborate in a lot of directions that give you, I think, a distinct advantage, and particularly when it comes to applying for money. When you think about the STEM work that Peter just mentioned, all of that has or can have embedded in it geospatial technology techniques, approaches, tools, so it really does give you an incredible reach. Despite all of that, though, I think there really is a lack of public awareness regarding what geospatial technology is and the related career opportunities. And that's an area where we hope something like the model and having competency models around geospatial and other occupational skill sets can be very, very important and very helpful. I was checking on the website this morning to see what the latest BLS statistics are around demand occupations. And it was interesting that when you type in geospatial technology on the BLS website, you get 3 clusters of occupations. One is geomapping, one is CAD and something else, and the third, interestingly, is archaeologists and anthropologists. But for professional, technical, and scientific jobs, the BLS projected growth rate is almost 30%, which is about twice the average of growth rates across all occupations. And even for something as specific as geospatial technology, there's a growth rate projected of somewhere between 16 and 22%. So the potential is there. The demand is there and certainly will increase over time. Figuring out how to develop the workforce that can perform the functions that are needed, that have the credentials, whether they be 2-year credentials or 4 or 7-year credentials, creating that pipeline and having that workforce is key to success and to continuation. So one of the things that I think we have to do is to look at non-traditional approaches, alternative approaches, whether that is dual enrollment programs between high schools and colleges, tapping non-traditional labor pools to bring into the workforce, looking at apprenticeship models, and there is a geotechnology apprenticeship program that I hope you know about and that employers in the field know about. So all of that becomes, I think, real fodder for drawing on our resources and looking for funding to help support the expansion of this as truly a very, very promising career pathway. So let me tell you a little bit about the Employment and Training Administration and how we are structured. I am the regional administrator in the Southeast. I have the 8 southeastern states. I have 5 counterparts across the country, and our job, purely and simple, is to manage the federal investments that come into our regions. In my case, it's, depending on the year, somewhere between $3 and $4 billion a year, and my staff oversees those grants once they are awarded with 2 entities within our region. And that model continues across the country. We have 2 major ways to distribute our funding. Probably 80% of our funding goes out every year in formula distributions under the Workforce Investment Act and other pieces of federal employment and training legislation. That funding flows from the Employment and Training Administration to state workforce agencies, and then from those agencies, 90% of the funding must, by law, be distributed to local workforce boards, and there are some 780 of them across the country. Those boards manage the millions of dollars that flow out of the Employment and Training Administration into states and local communities. The mandate for those local boards and those state workforce agencies is to invest that money in training for high growth, high demand occupations, as defined within that state or within that local community. So if you are from a community college or a 4-year institution, you need to know what your state workforce agency is and what your local workforce board is and does, because that is a source of funding for projects that indeed can demonstrate high growth and high demand. Services are provided in our system through a network of 2,800 one-stop career centers that range across the country that primarily focus on 2 customers. One, businesses, and making sure that they can supply either directly or through training courses the workforce that those businesses need in the community, and individuals who are in need of a first job, a better job, or they're out of work and need to go back to work because their company closed or they were laid off or for whatever other reason. Those one-stops serve about 25 to 30 million people a year, and focus on trying to make the connection between business and the individuals that are in their community needing to be served. So, knowing where your local one-stops are, knowing who your local workforce board is and who your state workforce agency is, are important points for you to have at your fingertips, and for you to be able to coordinate with and to leverage to see if indeed there are partnerships to be made. The geospatial technology competency model was really, I think, a hallmark for the Employment and Training Administration in terms of really showing how we can bring industry, the education community, and the government together to build something that can indeed be useful down the road. Philip was saying earlier that there are only 20 of those competencies developed so far. There are hundreds of industries that could benefit from this, and we hope to see the competency model approach really expanded, and we are dedicating resources to make that happen. We do have a number of electronic tools. The careeronestop.org that was just up on the screen is sort of our portal to all of our electronic tools, and those are available to educators, to the general public. They are great for students, for parents, for educators, to help understand the resources that are available and the economic and workforce landscape that your education might apply to. So they really are tools that we prize very highly and that we are constantly at work on. We are continuing to add to the electronic toolkits. We have added several icons since we developed the geospatial competency model. In December of this past year, we added several icons to that entire page to help people indicate the quality and value of specific credentials in our certification finder database. And that information also populates all of our other databases like My Skills, My Future, and My Next Move, and My Next Move for Vets, which is a website we developed specifically to help returning military make the connection between what they did in the military and what they can do in civilian life. That's been a very painful transition for many veterans, and that tool has proven very helpful in helping them translate the military lingo and the skills that are embedded in the MOS that they come out of the military with, translating those skills into jobs in the civilian world. It's an arcane, probably more art than science, but a tool that really has proven to be very, very useful. We invest at the Employment and Training Administration a great deal of money in the education system. We know we are not in the training business. We are in the business of investing in training. We don't do training. And we look to the post-secondary system, particularly the community college system, to be able to provide the training that is needed to make sure that we have the skilled workforce for the 21st century. And all of our investments go toward helping community colleges and others create the capacity to deliver the training that's needed with the tools that are needed. Some of our competitions over the years have been fairly limited. We're getting better and broader, and I want to talk to you for a few minutes about the opportunities that are available, and there's some fairly sizable bucks on the line. And I want to spend the last few minutes of my time with you sort of picking up on some of the things that Peter said and talking about some of the do's and don'ts of applying for a grant with the Employment and Training Administration. We're a little different. For instance, once a solicitation is announced, we are forbidden to talk to anyone about the solicitation. That is very different from NIS. It's very different from my partner in the Economic Development Administration, who blithely and eagerly and helpfully work with potential applicants to help them develop their applications. We cannot do that. Once the solicitation is announced, the only person you can talk to is whatever individual is named in the solicitation as your contact person. So ask me all the questions you can ask now, because in a few days when we've announced a solicitation, I can't talk about it. So listen up. One of the things that we hope to see come out of the fiscal year 14 budget is an $8 billion community college to career fund, specifically to go to community colleges to help them create career paths in demand occupations. If that funding is approved, we will be able to give community colleges the resources they need to become community career centers and to really help people learn crucial skills that businesses in their communities really need. One of our richest sources of funding is a $2 billion appropriation that was passed in the update of the Trade Adjustment Assistance Act. And this is probably the most cumbersome government acronym ever created. The Trade Adjustment Assistance Community College and Career Training Program, TAACCCTP. Lord help us. Which is TACT for short, thank goodness. And under the TAACCCT program, we are putting out $50 million a year over 4 years. And what is unique about this money is it is not to pay for training. It cannot be used for tuition. It must be used to develop curriculum and capacity to teach high-demand training for high-demand occupations. So what this has allowed the current recipients, we've awarded one round already, and interestingly, the way the legislation is written, every state in the country must get at least $2.5 million. We must give $2.5 million to sort of whether you want it or not. You have to take, we got to find somebody who will take $2.5 million. It was interesting in the first round what a problem that posed. But that's the minimum. Every state is guaranteed $2.5 million. The grants can go if you are a consortium of institutions that can cross state lines. The award can go as high as $20 million. That's good money. And it's definitely something that you need to explore if you have not already. I was interested to see that one of our first awardees, we've done one round of awards already, and grants have been awarded, and there is a grant for a 6-state consortium in information security and geospatial technology. And that grant was $19.9 million or something like that. So that's really, I think, a very, very promising opportunity. Our second $50 million grant competition closes either today or tomorrow. And at the beginning of our next fiscal year, which starts in October, we will have round 3. So the only website you need to know for us, and do get on our email list, is www.doleta.gov. And there you'll find an icon in the middle of the page that says Find Grants. And if you click on that, it will take you to all open competitions and to the solicitations for those competitions. And it will take you to descriptions of everything that has won. So you get a very good feel for what we are awarding money for. So you've got time to do some homework, and I hope that you will, because I think the TACT program really does offer incredible potential for community colleges and any other institution that awards 2-year degrees. So 4-year institutions that award 2-year degrees are also eligible to apply. So please do explore that, because I think it is absolutely a wonderful opportunity. We usually, for instance, cannot allow equipment beyond a certain level to be purchased with our grant money. Normally, our grant money must go for training. This is unique in that you can buy equipment. If you need a simulator to make your course work, then you can buy a simulator. It's a much more wide open competition. The rules are more open than we normally have. So I do commend that to your attention. We also are really working very diligently to build on the apprenticeship models that already exist. Apprenticeship is a wonderful opportunity to help individuals, particularly young people, but not exclusively young people, both learn and work simultaneously and combine community college or even four-year college coursework with on-the-job experience so that at the end of a 2 or 4 year program, they come out with a credential and with journeyman status. I mentioned that GTAP does already exist, the Geospatial Technology Apprenticeship Program, and we are looking to expand apprenticeship programs. We very proudly just had a ceremony with the CDC, who has just kicked off an apprenticeship program there that you have to be a PhD to apply for. So it's interesting to see the way that apprenticeship as a model has really expanded much beyond the traditional construction, bricklayer, pipe fitter, whatever models that I grew up with, and I think that people still tend to think about when they think about apprenticeship. So apprenticeship as a linkage between the business community and the community college is definitely an avenue that we hope you will explore. I don't oversee the apprenticeship program directly. There is a National Office of Apprenticeship, and I have a counterpart, a regional director for apprenticeship here in Atlanta, and there are corresponding regional directors across the country who can give you specific information and help you make connections around apprenticeship. But it too is a wonderful pipeline and a very, very flexible system that community colleges and other institutions can become involved with. We're also about to have another round of competitions. We've had several so far, and the source of funding for this one is not a federal appropriation. It is H-1B visa money. It is the money that employers pay to obtain H-1B visas for workers that they need to bring in because there is a shortage of those skills within the United States. We use that fee money, turn it back into a competition to build the training capacity to provide those skilled workers within the United States instead of having to bring them in from other countries. So the H-1B competitions are always very focused, and they are always about building a workforce to create within this country talent that we are now importing from other countries. Our long-term goal, obviously, is to decrease the need for H-1B visas and to help individuals within the United States upgrade their skills. Last September, we had our first round, sort of mega round. We talk a lot about government agencies collaborating, and that is probably done more by exception than by rule. But at least last September, we managed for 3 federal agencies to come together in a single competition, each agency putting some funding on the line, in what was the Jobs and Innovation Accelerator Challenge. The first time 3 federal agencies have come together in a single competition that was jointly paneled and jointly awarded. The Employment and Training Administration, the Economic Development Administration of the Department of Commerce, and the Small Business Administration all partnered to sponsor this $37 million Accelerator Challenge. We awarded grants to 21 states, or across 21 states, all of these to consortia. None of these are single grantees. They are all to consortia of various entities, including, and a mandatory partner, obviously, was the educational institution that would be handling the training or at least organizing the training. In that round of competition, we were looking at advanced manufacturing, information technology, aerospace, and clean technology. We gave grants to cities, we gave grants to rural areas. One grant went to an Indian tribe. The awards really spanned the waterfront and gave a good indication, I think, of the potential that this particular approach can have to bringing institutions that might not necessarily work together. Sometimes your small business resources at the state or the regional level don't necessarily talk to the economic development folks, and certainly probably don't talk to the workforce folks who are at the local level. So this is a real opportunity to bring people together locally and regionally within a state and across states to be able to apply for some fairly unique funding. And the way this works is you apply for funding from each of the 3 agencies. We each have our priority. Ours is training. So with the money that you would ask for from us, you propose the training curriculum or curricula that support the economic development and entrepreneurship tracks that the EDA and the Small Business Administration grant pieces will be supporting. And as a package, that becomes a very, very powerful approach. Sometime within the next week or so, I expect we will be announcing another round of the Jobs and Innovation Accelerator grants, and I hope you will be ready to pounce upon that and to take advantage of that opportunity. That will be up on our website as soon as it's announced, and literally it may be any day now. So please keep an eye out for that and take advantage of that when it does come. And we're going to continue to use our resources to promote this kind of collaboration toward high growth, high demand industries. Now I want to take my last few minutes to give you some tips. It was interesting listening to Peter's tips about applying for grants with NSF, and ours is sometimes is the same but different. I can't emphasize enough his first point: read the solicitation. And if it says turn around twice and hold up your left foot, just do it. Don't argue, just do it. And pay attention up front ahead of time to details. I can't tell you how many grantees, how many potential applicants got kicked out of the last round of TAA CCT because their DUNS number was out of date. Nothing can be more frustrating, and there's nothing we can do. Got a phone call yesterday from a gentleman who they had some trouble getting their documents uploaded, and they hit send, and the documents and the application were accepted at 4:01. The deadline was 4 o'clock. Nothing we can do. So pay attention. Make sure your ducks are in a row and that you have everything lined up enough ahead of time that you make sure that grant, because everything we do goes through grants.gov. And if it doesn't meet whatever the parameters are, it never even goes to ETA. It is held because it is non-responsive. So do your homework and do read carefully. We don't just support and like collaboration and partnership, we require it. You don't necessarily have to be a consortium, but you better have some partners. And my best advice is make sure one of those partners is somebody in the workforce system, whether it is a local workforce board or two, a workforce agency, either state or local. Make sure the workforce system is in there somewhere. And we will absolutely require at least one, more's always better, business partner. So you can't go it alone. And we do take that very, very seriously. And I paneled the first Jobs Accelerator. I was on a panel for the first Jobs Accelerator, and some grants didn't make it because they didn't have all the required partners, and they got ruled out. Good proposals, but they didn't have all the required elements. So please make sure that you read the participating partners section carefully and make sure you have those partnerships and that they are strong. And you would think I wouldn't have to say this, but I will because I've seen it too much. When you have letters of support, please don't do form letters. When you have 32 letters of support that all say exactly the same thing, they're just on different letterheads, it's a hint. And what we have found is that, you know, and it happens, you stick a letter in front of somebody and they sign it and they don't have a clue what they signed. And we have found that as we have moved forward with some of the solicitations. So when you get letters of support, make sure they're real and make sure that they that the supporting entity or the partner organization personalizes it as much as is possible. As I said, once grants are awarded, and we do panel, everything we do is by panel, and the panel scores rule. There is no opportunity to change the rankings once the scores come in. It is done. So the panel's work is essentially final unless there is some legal reason for excluding a potential applicant at that point in time, and we try to catch that before the fact, not after. And then once the awards are made, those grants generally, not 100%, but probably 98%, are indeed managed at the regional office level. So we would get your grant portfolio. One of my federal project officers would reach out to you to provide technical assistance and to support you in putting together the fleshing out of the implementation plan, the budget, everything that you would need to move forward with the grant, and would continue to stay in touch with you and to monitor you to make sure that indeed the grant performs successfully. So it is a wonderful opportunity. We do have some fairly big bucks on the table, and this is an area that I think is ripe for taking advantage of some of that money and moving some of the wonderful discussion that you've had over the last several days in even closer to reality. So I hope that that I will see names that I have seen on the program and people that I have met today in competitions that move forward, and really do want to applaud you for this gathering. It has been, just from what I've been able to pick up, an incredibly exciting discussion and one that is incredibly timely. So I commend you for the work you do and look forward to hearing great things. Thank you.
In the TAA grant, you mentioned that one consortium had already been awarded a certain amount for geospatial. That does not preclude future?
It does not.
Okay.
It does not at all.
Hi, I'm Mark Gislow from Lakeland Community College in the Cleveland, Ohio area. We have a new degree program that is based largely on the GTCM. We've only been around about 10 months. And one of the main points of vision that our program has developed is a statement about having a role in awareness building in the region, specifically to deal with the workforce development piece. So beyond the kind of traditional academic side, that's a big part of what we're trying to do. As an example of that, on Friday, I'm going out with one of our student workers to an auto parts plant in the county in order to just meet with some people and talk about just awareness of what is geospatial and how is it used in your industry. And that's one of the kinds of things we're doing. My question has to do with the kind of local labor boards, and the issue that we deal with is that I don't believe that geospatial technology is currently considered a high-growth occupation within the Cleveland area, but we're in a situation where a lot of human resource managers and other people need geospatial workers, but they don't know it yet. And so we're starting the dialogue with the local board folks and state board people. I guess my question for you is that what approaches might help us to kind of bridge some of those gaps and raise the awareness so that it can become a higher growth area?
Off the top of my head, I think using the data that supports the model and getting the Bureau of Labor Statistics in your area, that would be the Chicago office, getting them to run some special data, which they are happy to do, that not only looks at geospatial technology positions, job openings per se, but can also do that spidering into other industries that use geospatial technology. I think you can build your case, but you're going to need some convincing data to do it. I think the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the ETA office in the Chicago region can help you pull some of that data together to help make that argument both to the state board and to your local board. And one of you triggered a thought too. I didn't mention this when I was talking about the TAACCT, but need to, because it's an important element to keep in mind. Because this is Trade Act funding, and if, in case you don't know, the Trade Act is designed to provide support to individuals who are out of their jobs because either the jobs went overseas or the industry collapsed because of foreign competition, or the business collapsed because of foreign competition. So while this doesn't support training per se, we are looking for career paths that particularly a trade-impacted worker who is typically a somewhat older worker in their 30s or 40s might be interested in and able to move toward. So as you're looking at how you might frame an application for the TAACCT grants, keep that twist in mind. You'll see it in the solicitation. It doesn't even mean you necessarily have to have trade-impacted people in your area. But if you did, would this training be something that they might be interested in and able to take?
I have a quick question also. I realize you're here, and from what I understand, discussing funding available to two-year programs, regardless of whether they're for your institution. Who do we contact, or where do we look for similar funding at the higher ed four-year, master's, PhD programs?
Probably, although some of our competitions may also play to that, so it's important to read every solicitation when it comes out, because some of our H-1B competitions, for instance, may well be open to any institution and for any degree level. It just depends on how you put the package together. But the source of funding for that is going to be the U.S. Department of Education. Okay. In the main.
And is there articulation between your program and that program then, so that we can see what's going on at the two-year
Would that it program were so.
Well, I'm just wondering.
It is beginning.
You're suggesting some innovative approaches,
yeah.
And I want to kind of move in that direction, but where do I plug in, I guess,
yeah.
is the question.
That is beginning, and we are, particularly at the national level, working very hard with our education partners to build those articulation pathways and to help make it clear whose funding does what. We're also doing a lot more joint funding of competitions so that there is both education and ETA money going into a competition that usually is a much broader competition that may get to some of that. So. Okay. Thank you. Glad to be with you.